Maybe I should apply for jobs more often, but that would be a waste, so I won't do that. That was the biggest blessing in disguise. It's given very much hood vibes. I have been self-employed for years now. I'm actually not sure on the exact number of years, but if I had to guess, I think I registered as self-employed after uni. So I'm gonna say like 2019, so maybe like 6 years now. I'm actually not 100% sure. But the point is, I've been self-employed for a while, and I've actually never had a full-time like employed job like ever in my life. That's definitely been a conscious choice. Like, I've deliberately avoided 9 to 5. It never felt like it suited the lifestyle that I wanted, so I deliberately avoided it, and this is kind of how. And to take you through my journey, I have to bring you back to when I was maybe like 13. I've always been quite good at making the things that I enjoy make me money. So at 13, I started doing acrylic nails. I was doing it because I liked it. I was really artistic naturally, and I did quite a lot of like intricate designs on nails, and I was able to make money from that quite early because people wanted me to do their nails. I'd have my friends from school, but then I'd also have people like my sister's friends or my sister's friends, or even people that like are friends of another friend. So I had people that I went to school with, and then I'd have them message me like, oh, my cousin wants to get their nails done, or my friend wants to get their nails done. So I was able to make money quite early. That wasn't necessarily a profitable business though, because it would take me so long to do the nails. Like, by the time I finished the set and they paid me their little 10, 15 pounds, which back then, to be honest, I'm saying back then I feel like a grandma, but back then I feel like it was worth more than it is now. Like, sure, I should have charged a lot more than £10, but at the same time I still feel like I had some money left over. Like, now £10 would just cover the cost of the product. Back then I feel like it left me a little bit of change to play with once I covered the cost of the product. So that was at about 13. Then I started modelling at about 14, 15. To be honest, I don't think I started making money from modelling until I was probably about 16. So from 14, 16, I probably wasn't making much money, if any money. But then I started modelling and I was able to start getting paid maybe like a little £20 an hour here, £30 an hour there. But then when I moved to London at 18 is when I joined an agency in London, and then I was actually able to make like real money from modelling, kind of. So then I was getting paid, it really depended, but I started getting paid like what I deemed as like large amounts of money, which was like maybe like £600 for a shoot, but then my agency would have to take their fee, so I'd probably end up with like maybe like 400 or something. But that was quite significant. This is why I don't remember exactly when I registered as self-employed, but I realised at some point that I'm making enough money from modelling now that I get in trouble if I don't start declaring this. So I registered as self-employed somewhere between 2017 and 2019, somewhere in that realm. I actually went to uni and I studied geography, which a lot of people find quite surprising. I didn't really have a logic, I never had a plan. One thing about me is I just never ever had a plan. I feel like people assume because I'm quite driven and I'm an overachiever in some ways that I probably have this like really strict and rigid, like I want to get to here. I really didn't have that, like, at all. I didn't have it at all. The reason I went to uni is because I thought, oh, it would be cool to live in a different city that's paid for by the government. It's not really paid for by the government, but that was my mindset. Like, in my head, student loan was not real, it wasn't mine, it was almost like a grant. Which is crazy. I don't regret it, but in my head it was an easy way to get to another city. I don't think I would have had the opportunity otherwise if I stayed where I was with the background that I have, which I don't come from no silver spoon. It's given very much hood vibes at times. I don't know how else to describe it, but I didn't come from any sort of like privilege or whatsoever. So for me to be able to move city I felt like at the time would take a lot of graft. I feel like I keep saying like at the time a lot and doing this, but I feel like it's because my mindset has changed and how I feel about life and the world has changed so much since then that the way I'm speaking is almost as if I'm still back then, but they don't necessarily resonate with me now. So just try and follow along as best you can. So yeah, so I moved to London. My sister encourages me to also move to London, and now I'm living in London. I've started making money through modelling, which means that my student loan, because I got like the max amount of student loan, I think it's based on parents' income and also like where you went. So going to London, max amount, and then parents' income. So the type of degree that I did didn't necessarily lead to like a direct immediate job. Like, it was very ambiguous. So when I finished uni, it's not even like I had like a predetermined path set out for me, because I chose a subject that was just so vague and so like broad. It didn't really narrow down my options, and to be honest, I didn't mind that. Again, I wasn't going in with a plan of I need to get a job at the end of this. Like, that was just not my MO. My MO was go to London, have fun, enjoy, experience, live life. Finishing uni, I didn't enjoy London enough to stay, and to be honest, the finance, I don't think would have. I probably could have found a way if I wanted to. If I really wanted to, I would have got a full-time job in London, but that is not what I wanted. So I moved back to Birmingham. When I moved back, I carried on modelling, which meant travelling to London quite a lot, but the amount I was getting paid with modelling around this time was enough that it still made sense for me to travel, because the amount I'm getting paid covers my travel and then also leaves me enough money to kind of play with at the end. So I'm still modelling, I've avoided a 9 to 5, and I'm just trying to make the modelling thing work, but it just wasn't enough, and I felt like I wasn't in control of how much jobs I could get in terms of modelling. Like, it was just all up to my agency, and to be honest, at that time had such a crap agency. Like I couldn't stand them, to be honest. Like I really couldn't stand them. That's a story for another day. I needed to find more ways to make money. So one of the things I started doing was customizing trainers. Pretty good at it, not gonna lie. Again, I do have quite an artistic, like, I don't know, it's just in my bones. So I started customizing trainers, clothing items, bags, shoes. And again, I realized from this, I had a natural ability to market products and services. I don't know why. I think again, it's just linked to me naturally being quite artistic. And I didn't even know that it was marketing at the time. I just thought I'm having fun and it's making me money. In a deliberate way, like I was deliberately trying to like, when I talk about marketing, I'm talking about using maybe like social media. I think my nails was more like, what was at the time? I feel like my nails were more posted on, was it Instagram? So yeah, even with my nails at 13, Instagram I feel like was new then, and I started posting them on Instagram and that got traction from there. Not necessarily as an Instagram page, but just the people that I knew. It was a place to kind of share it with them, as well as like BlackBerry or MSN or something. I think it might have been BlackBerry then. And then again, with the customizing of the trainers, I didn't realise it was marketing, but I was just posting on social media, and then some videos would do better than others and it would get shared around Birmingham, and I'd have like random people. One of the best things, the best feelings for me was getting a DM from someone I didn't know. Like it wasn't a friend of a friend that I knew about, it was just some random person. It's just the best feeling. Like it made me know that my stuff's getting out there, it's circulating. Love that for me. But say all that to say, yeah, just going back to the original point of I had a natural knack for marketing. But yeah, bringing it all the way back, this now became another income stream. So I'm modelling, I'm customising trainers, and it was enough to sustain me at the time. Bearing in mind, I don't really have much outgoing. All I've got is maybe like my phone bill at this time, honestly, like not very much at all. So that's all I had to cover, as well as just going out with friends here and there. So I felt like there was no pressure to get a full-time job, really. But then there was the thought of like, okay, so what I'm gonna do like in the future, which I didn't really think about back then. When people would ask me, it was like, oh, you just finished uni, like what are you doing now? And it's kind of like, damn, what am I doing now? Again, I'm not looking at what I'm doing as necessarily something that can be long term. I just didn't think about that. So I did actually feel pressure enough to the point that I applied for a job. Can you believe it? So I remember being, I think it was on LinkedIn, I came across, so while I was at uni, so I have to take you back to uni for a second. While I was at uni, I met this guy and he did recruitment. He was a bit older than me and he seemed like he was making decent money. He could have just been putting it on. I actually have no idea now. But either way, he kind of introduced me to the world of recruitment. So from that point, I knew that recruitment could potentially make me decent money, and it's commission based. So you can increase your earnings depending on how well you do. That's all that I knew about it. And I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I'll see what like recruitment has to offer. So I'll go on LinkedIn. I believe I find a job that I wanted to apply for, but it was put up by a recruiter. So this kind of meant that I had like a mentor to help me prepare for the interview, to like maximize my chances of getting it, which looking back now I realized because she was going to get commission if I got it. So she basically gave me questions to like research and, you know, come up with answers in preparation for the interview, which I did. And doing that, I feel like I left it probably till the last minute. And I remember the night before, I was just crying. Like I'm preparing for this interview, I'm researching all the things that she's asked me to research about the company and all the questions she said that they could ask, and I'm just crying because I just don't really want to do the interview. I know I don't really want to get a job, or at least not like that type of job where I'm working for someone and only that's all I'm doing, and I'm bawling my eyes out. The next morning I go to the interview. I feel like I do well at the interview. Like I'm pretty confident as a person. I've always been pretty confident as a person as well. Could be remembering incorrectly, but I feel like I did well at the interview. I'm quite being. But then I got a call later that day and she was like, unfortunately you haven't got the job. And I was like, oh damn. Like I did actually feel a bit bummed because I'm like, what? Like I actually thought I did alright. And the feedback that she got from the people that were interviewing me is that they said I did well, but they said that they didn't feel like I was ready to leave what I was currently doing. And I did explain to them because they asked me what you do now or what you've been doing. So I shared that I was doing modelling and I was doing customising trainers, and I enjoyed it. And I remember them asking in the interview, so why are you swapping? And I don't remember what my answer was, but I remember having a very good answer, and I feel like it was to do with stability and wanting to build a future. So I feel like my answer felt like at the time it made sense, but they picked up on the energy that I just wasn't really ready to leave it alone somehow. And I genuinely feel like that was the biggest blessing in disguise, biggest blessing. And the reason I feel like that is because my whole thing with not wanting to get a job after uni was that I felt like I would get stuck. So I deliberately avoided getting a job in any capacity. Even if I thought it was going to be temporary, I'd avoided it on purpose because I felt like what would happen is I'd get comfortable and I'd stay there and I'd be unhappy, because that's what I've observed from the people around me just in life. So I avoided it. I just feel like to this day I think back to that moment and I'm so grateful that they didn't just recruit me for the sake of recruiting me or based on any other positive attributes that they've seen about me, I don't think I'd feel as fulfilled. Don't get me wrong, I feel like I genuinely do well in that field, but I don't feel like I'd feel as fulfilled as I do now doing what I enjoy and being able to change. Oh my gosh, change. Like, there are so many pros of being self-employed, which I'll get into in a little bit. Just as a little caveat, I've actually never done an interview like that for anything ever again. There's only one similar situation, which was when I went for a role to do marketing for a beauty skincare startup, and even that, like, they put out the job role for a full-time person, but someone had sent it to me knowing that I had an agency and was kind of just basically telling me to try and convince them to do the agency route as opposed to the employee route. So I did, but she still wanted to have like an interview, so I went to the interview knowing full well I was never going to take on a full-time role full stop, even if it was self-employed. And even my attitude towards that interview was like, it wasn't like a normal interview dynamic that you can imagine where they're asking questions and I'm answering them and trying to satisfy their needs. Like, I went in with, this is what you need, this is what I can offer, like, take it or leave it, like in a very polite way, because I did end up getting the role. Hated it. The story for another day. In fact, no, I will touch on it. The reason I hated it is because even though I was still working myself and I was self-employed technically, I really hate the concept of exchanging my time for money. Like, there's something about it that just feels so empty and not fulfilling for me. So why I hated it so much is, one, exchanging my time for money, and two, being micromanaged. So I don't like having to go to a job between set times, and as long as I show up and do what I need to do, I'm paid. Like, I don't like that. I prefer to be paid based on the completion of a project or the delivery of a service or something, like, rather than it being time-based. If it takes me 10 hours to do it, if it takes me 1 hour, I don't really like mind. That's up to me. It should be up to me to set the price for that and make sure I've set it correctly. I'd just rather not exchange my time for money. It just feels empty. I feel like I'm being paid for my time and not my skill or my expertise, because as long as I show up, as I said, I'll get paid, and I just, until maybe they get rid of you and they exchange you for somebody else. And I just don't like that concept. Like, I want to be paid for the fact that you've been, yeah, I just don't like that. I don't like that. But then also, as I said, that just didn't work out because I felt like I was being micromanaged, because I feel like their attitude towards a job was more that I was an employee and I was kind of like just another person ticking away and doing what they ask, as opposed to trusting in my skills and my Again, I won't, you know what, I won't even get into that story for another day. But yeah, interviews. And to be honest, I actually remember saying to my sister, I'm being really excited to do the interview because I just like never done it before. Like, I was excited. I've done it the one time, sure, but that was so long ago. I feel like interviews are a different dynamic to like onboarding calls with clients, or even like sales calls with clients. Like, it's a completely different dynamic to getting interviewed, and I actually enjoyed that. I feel like I'm really good at interviews. Maybe I should apply for jobs more often, but that would be a waste of people's time, so I won't do that. So in a nutshell, some of the things that I love about being self-employed is the ability to be creative and express my creativity and just be free, be flexible, be able to change as and when I want to, whether that's completely new direction in business, whether that's just the niche that I work within. So for example, like, I'm currently in the process of making a switch now, which I won't share too much of because I haven't fully decided what direction I want to go in, but the fact that I can even do that is very freeing, as opposed to being stuck in a job and like everything is just riding on this job and just becomes super reliant on this particular job. Like, it's just completely different being self-employed. I feel like often people ask, like, how do you deal with like the inconsistency of income and things like that? And yeah, sure, the income is very inconsistent, but I feel much more stable working for myself than I feel like I would working for somebody else. Like, I feel like working for somebody else, you have no control over, you know how much you're going to get paid, but you have no control over your ceiling or when you can increase that pay, or whether the business is even going to be there tomorrow. Like, you don't really probably even know that information. You don't know whether they're bloody about to go into liquidation or not, because it's just not even your business. Like, when you hear stories about like shops shutting down and then people losing their jobs and they're blindsided because they didn't have a clue, like, to me that's scary, especially if you're someone that is reliant on that job and you're just so used to that one job, and maybe you've worked your way up the company and then that job's gone. Like, I get that you can go to another job, but you're just so used to that consistent lifestyle. I feel like it would throw you so much more, maybe potentially if it happened to somebody else that is just used to the happy chaos. I'm going to say happy chaos because if I just say chaos on its own, it just sounds so negative, but it isn't always negative. Sometimes that chaos is fun and thrilling and exciting, and maybe I'm crazy, but I actually really like that. I like that it's not predictable. I like that there's new challenges all the time. I like to be challenged. Again, I don't like exchanging my time for money, because where is the challenge? I feel like those types of roles don't really come with challenges. They come with they come with repetition and monotonousness. As you can tell, I'm clearly quite passionate about the subject. But yeah, so some cons. So yes, I get it. Like, there are definitely cons to being self-employed. Like, having to do your taxes can be a con. It can be quite scary. It can be quite daunting. All the deadlines for things, having to know things, remember things, work things out, can be quite daunting. If you're not good at organisation, can be daunting. That's one thing I had to pattern up very quickly. I'm actually very good at organisation now. I haven't always been. In fact, I was the one that wasn't organised, and now my organisation is A1, which is because of my self-employment. I also just like how much it develops me as a person and how much it pushes me as an individual to do better, because I'm always having to solve problems. I don't feel like I'd be the person that I am today if I didn't follow the path that, and yeah, sure, that's cliche, no one would be the person that they are if they didn't follow the path that they had, but I feel like having a 9 to 5 for me would have been detrimental to the person that I've become, and I feel like I would be living a life that wasn't fulfilling for me. So yeah, this is why I chose self-employment over a regular 9 to 5, and I don't think 9 to 5s are bad, and I do think they're for some people. I also know that there are so many people out there that would love to do a 9 to 5 but they don't out of fear, and I just feel like that is what should be eliminated. Like, if you're only not doing it because you're scared or because you're worrying about the reliability of the money, it's all kind of in your control, and how I feel is that how much I make is in my control, and that feels more secure to me than putting that in somebody else's hands. So yeah, I'm gonna end that video here, but I will be sharing more about self-employment and my journey and things like that, and the direction that I'm going to be going in, because I do think I'm going to be changing direction, even if I don't. In fact, I just will, so we'll just leave it there. I won't lie, I rambled a lot in that video, so I'm hoping it made sense. One of my main things this year is being consistent on YouTube. I want to be monetized on YouTube by the end of the year. In fact, to be honest, I want to be monetized on YouTube by like June, because I want the last 6 to 7 months of the year to be like earning me money essentially, so, and just like reaching more people. So yeah, we are working on consistency. Hold me accountable, guys. Make sure you comment so I actually know that there's a reason to come back here. But yeah, honestly, thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.